Welcome, everybody. Mr. Chair, we are live on YouTube now.
Okay, welcome everyone. Good morning. In accordance with sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. I'd like to introduce the panel members. Panel members today, on my left, we have Shaheen Fazeli, Marianne Casson. On my right, we have Jordan Allison, Mehdi Marzaye. And my name is Larry Swartz. I'm the chair. Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of zoning that applies to property. It considers permission to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and it considers consent to sever property to create new lots. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. This is a hybrid format hearing. Committee of Adjustment hearings are conducted hybrid in person and virtual format. Some applicants and participants will make their submissions in person. Others will participate virtually by electronic means through WebEx on an online digital platform. The meetings are also streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel, and anyone wishing to view the hearing may watch on YouTube. Those who want to participate virtually and have registered in advance will be connecting with their computer, tablet, smartphone, or telephone, and have the option of participating via video or audio only. All virtual participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, you will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. We ask that you also mute your devices until you are called on to speak. Those participating by video appearance will be temporarily upgraded to panelist when your item is being held. During this time, your camera will be enabled. You will only be visible during your 5-minute allotted speaking time. At all other times, your video will be disabled and you will be reinstated as an attendee. For both in-person and virtual participants, Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. Those participating through WebEx are not allowed to use share screen or any other panelist controls during a video appearance. The host will remove you from the panelist role if you fail to respect this instruction. In terms of receiving a copy of the decision, those who attend in person who want to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must fill out a decision request card. Those participating virtually need to submit a written request for a decision by mail. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address because the Committee of Adjustment and the Toronto Local Appeal Body, TLAB, will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, TLAB, or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal, OLT. However, the provincial government amended the Planning Act and generally removed rights of third parties to appeal Committee of Adjustment decisions. Only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and specified persons and public bodies, such as those terms are defined in the Planning Act, are permitted to appeal decisions of the Committee of Adjustment. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. Hearing procedure. I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda, making your submissions. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you are reaching the 5 minutes. Any presentation or other materials you wish to submit to the committee must have been emailed in advance of the hearing. Staff and committee members cannot accept materials at the hearing. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent will proceed first and will make a presentation to the committee on the application. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer an application if substantially revised to ensure that the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then, individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Generally, we call on speakers in the hearing room and those participating through WebEx. Speakers in the hearing room will be called first, generally. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent has an opportunity to rebut only those issues that are raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion. The application will then be taken into committee for a decision. So, given this is the morning session, I'd like confirmation of minutes of the last meeting.
Through you, Mr. Chair, there are no minutes to approve at this point.
No minutes, thank you. Are there any declarations of interest of any panel member or staff for any of the items today? Okay, seeing no declarations of interest. Are there any deferral requests, Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer? Have you received any requests for deferral?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have 2 deferral requests this morning. We'll start with item number 3, 435 Castlefield. We'll unmute the agent shortly.
Okay, so item 3 is a deferral and item 8 is a deferral. Is that correct? Item 8 being A0045/24NY at 8 Salonica is a deferral, and number 3, A0040/24NY for 35 Castlefield. So both those are being deferred. So we're going to...
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members.
Well, just before we do that, are there any motions, Mr. Deputy Chair, motions on files to be closed?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there are no additional motions and there are no files to be closed this morning.
Great, thank you. So
Thank
we'll go
you.
with the deferral requests from, I suppose we'll start with item number 3 first. Let me just check on my, okay, so item number 3, we're going to hear from the agent applicant. So please step forward and state your name and address.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. This is Faraz Puyende. My address is 105 Harrison Garden Boulevard, Unit 515. I need a deferral for this application because I just noticed that there are two missing main variants in the zoning notice. The first one is a GFA, the other one is a three-story building. So I need to do deferral to have the discussion with the zoning examiner and make it clear for the next available hearing date.
Okay. Do we have a motion from a panel member on this?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have a number of speakers online too as well.
Well, is there anybody that wants to speak just to the, of the speakers that are here, is there anyone that wants to speak only to the deferral request, not to the merits, not to any other part, but whether you are opposed to the deferral?
Who's the first person? Through you, Mr. Chair, we're going to unmute Michael.
So again, Mr. Kay, it's only if you're opposed to the deferral request that you really need to speak.
No, I understand the procedure, sir.
Okay, so you want to
yes,
speak
I
then?
would oppose.
You want to speak, so then
Yes,
state your name and your address, please.
My name is Michael Kay, 432 Castlefield Avenue. I am just opposing to the deferral based on the fact that there are enough variances that I've seen in the from the applicant in this request for all these variances that I feel that, well, actually, I would like to know the exact reason, what the intention is of the applicant, what addition or amendment to their request for variance, and then base my decision on whether I'm good with the deferral or not. So that's what I'd like.
All
to know
right.
exactly what the intention is of the applicant.
Okay.
What was the amendment? What exactly is the amendment?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the applicant already stated his reasons for deferral.
Right.
So Mr. Kay just needs to address the deferral request at this point.
So you're saying basically, Mr. Kay, okay, so the applicant had their time. We're going to go to the panel. The panel may or may not have a question for him, but he stated his reasons. Do you have any objection? I've heard your objection. Do you have anything else to say?
Yeah, I had a hard time understanding what is the variance, what exactly is the amendment.
Yeah.
But just maybe through the phone here, I'm hearing like people in the background too, or some other electronic noises. So I did not. So perhaps it could be repeated by the chair to me.
No, we're not going to do that. Is there anything else you want to say about this?
Oh, okay. No,
Okay, thank you. So anybody else want to
I
speak?
just prefer that it wouldn't be.
Are you finished, Mr. Kay, or do you want to say something else? You've got five. You got.
Apparently, I am finished.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else that wants to
apparently
speak about this? All right, I don't hear that there's anybody else that wants to speak, so let's
Okay,
go.
Mr. Chair, we're going to unmute the next person.
Okay, there is somebody. All right, so they're speaking in opposition to the deferral?
Hello?
Yes, okay. Would you please state your name and address?
Well, my name is Richard Hamer, 433 Carsfield Avenue. Speaking on behalf of my wife, Joanna Orland.
I'm having trouble hearing you. If you could please repeat that.
Hello, my name is Richard. I live at 433 Castlefield Avenue. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So now, you're here to speak only if you're opposed to the deferral request, all right? Not the merits of the application. If you're opposed to the deferral, go ahead. If you're not, then we can move on.
No, I have nothing to say about the deferral. I was just unmuted. I didn't request to be unmuted. I do have objections to the merit of the application, but
Right.
I presume there will be a second hearing once the
If
Once
the
the kind of a new
deferral's, if
application
the
has gone
deferral's
through.
granted, there'll be a second hearing. If the deferral is not granted, then
Okay.
we'll deal with it all now. But we're just dealing with the deferral request by the applicant. So if you don't have any objection, then we'll defer you for now.
So sorry. So should I remain on the call in case the
Yeah,
deferral is
you can
denied?
remain on the
Is
call
that the
because
correct
if we
procedure?
refuse the deferral application, then you'll get a chance to speak on the substance of the application. But in the meantime, we're only
that makes sense.
dealing
Thank you.
with whether there's a deferral or not. And if you're not opposed to that, then we'll go on to whoever else wants to speak on that matter. We'll get to you again only if we decide that we refuse the deferral and want to hear it, okay? And in which case you will get a chance to speak on the substance either today if we don't defer, or if we do defer it, when it comes back, you'll get a chance to speak against it if that's what you choose to do. Got it?
Thank you very much. That makes sense. Thank you.
All right, so,
There is another speaker online.
okay. The next speaker, would you please state your name and address? Hello? Do we have another speaker?
We do. We have unmuted
There.
Marla Feldman.
Are they there? Okay, well, let's, give them a couple of, a few more seconds, but if they're not going to speak, then we've got to move on. Marla Feldman there, does she want to speak against the deferral request? Do we have a timer going?
I'm here, and no, I don't want to speak.
You do not want to speak, or you do want to speak? It's only about.
I don't.
You don't? Okay. So I take it does not want to speak, right? Because it's only about the deferral request now. So is there anybody else that we need to hear from? Okay. All right, so we've heard from everybody concerning the deferral request. So let's go into committee. Or unless any panel members have a question of the applicant on his deferral request. Is there anybody? I didn't take it. So let's go into committee.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if there's no other comments from my colleagues, I'd be happy to move a request for deferral for the reasons stated by the applicant to update the public notice with the inclusion of missing variances.
Okay. Seconder? Okay. Ms. Casson. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Mr. Allison, second, Ms. Casson. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, the matter is deferred. So on to the next item that was requested for deferral, which is, as I've read in already, it's item number 8. All right, so let's please turn to the applicant or the applicant's representative for item number 8. Are they ready? Oh, they're here. Okay, great, in person. So please state your name, address, and
Good
reason for
morning, Mr.
deferral.
Chairman, member of the committee, and Happy Nowruz and Iranian New Year. And my name is Mehran Haydari, 1090 Dalmleys Road, Unit 506, Norfolk, Ontario. I'm going to defer this application. We had the conversation with the planning department regarding the improvement of the application, and we improved the lot coverage and front yard setback and send the drawing to the zoning examiner to receive the updated notice, and the zoning examiner added the new variances that he missed in the first review. So we are going to have another hearing, and this is why we are deferring the application.
All right, thank you. Any questions from any panel members? Thank you. All right, thank you, sir. We've got a number of people who've asked to speak. We open the floor to those people, but again, for those people who would like to speak, we are only at this stage only speaking about whether the matter is to be deferred or not. And I'd request that anybody who wants to speak to that only speak if they are opposed to the deferral request. Simply only opposed to the deferral request, not to the application, because you will always get a chance to speak to the application at another date or later today, but only those who are opposed to the deferral request. So, staff, are there any members who want, any members of the public or anybody else who wants to speak opposing the deferral request?
We've unmuted the first speaker, Mr. Chair.
All right. Well, the first speaker, do you have a,
Mr. Chair, I believe we have a Mario Silva that wishes to speak to this on behalf of a couple of residents.
okay, but it's, again, it's only to the deferral request, right? So if you're opposed to the deferral request, go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. No, I'm not, in the deferral is appropriate, so I believe that we should have a deferral.
All right, fine. So maybe you should just give your address just so we have it on record, please.
It's Mario Silva on behalf of 11 Salonica.
Okay, great, thank you. Staff, any other parties wish to speak to address the deferral request?
Yep, there's a number on the list.
Do you want me to
Hello?
go? I mean, there's a number here, so should we go to the next person or somebody bringing them up?
Can you hear?
Hello? Yes? Please state your
Hello.
name and address.
Yeah, I'm a neighbor of the 9 Salonica Road. I'm the owner of the 7
what's your name?
Salonica Road.
Hold on, what's your name, please?
Hong Zhao.
Thank you. And what's your
My name's
address?
Hong Zhao.
Perfect. And your
7
address?
Salonica Road.
Okay, thank you. So now, it's
7 Salonica Road.
yes, thank you, 7 Salonica. So it's up to you. If you want to oppose the deferral request, we're only addressing that issue right now. So, so we have on the floor
Yeah,
a request for a deferral. So if you are opposed to that, please state the reasons you're opposed to the deferral, only deferral.
Yeah, I think this deferral make the owner, the 9 Salonica Road, or their teams make a big change for this big house and a very much tall house, and make some change.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Okay. So are you opposed to the deferral, not the application, just deferring it? You'll get a chance always to speak
no.
against. Okay, so you're not opposed to the deferral. All
I'm
right.
not opposed to deferral. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Next person.
You're welcome.
Thank you. The next person who wants to speak, who is that? Stop. Is that, can you release them and I'll,
Right, I believe the next two speakers, Mr. Chair, are not present.
okay, thank
So
you.
the last speaker, there's one more. They've been unmuted.
All right. So would you please, would the speaker please state their name?
Hi, my name is Jing Bai from number 4 Shidukes. I
Thank you.
oppose the deferral.
You opposed to the
Period.
deferral. Could you please state the reasons why you're opposed to the deferral?
Yeah, I want to express my concerning this morning, so I would like the applicant to discuss with the change this morning.
You
Thank
want the applicant to discuss it. That's it? You don't have anything more to say then, I take it, correct? Nothing more to say.
I have some concerning of the application.
But
So
your concerns of the application
why
will be
I
dealt
oppose
with
the
if the deferral issue will be dealt with first, but you don't have any other concerns. You've expressed your opposition to the deferral. So can I move on, please?
Yes,
Thank you.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. So
Thank you.
now, members, I think we're going to go into committee now. Do we have any discussion on the deferral, a motion on the deferral?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move a motion for deferral for the reasons given by the applicant.
Excuse me, may I add something?
No, no, we're in committee. All right, so motion for deferral by Ms. Casson.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Fazeli. Any any motion, any discussion on this? Anybody need to hear from the applicant any further? Nobody needs to hear from the applicant? Fine. Let's put it to a vote. All those in favor of the deferral request? Thank you. It's approved unanimously. Thank you. Your deferral is granted.
So
We
may I
don't
add
need to
some-
hear from you. You've got your deferral. You can take it up with your staff, with our
Thank you.
staff after. But thank you. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
attending. All right.
Mr. Chair, that's it for our morning deferrals. Why don't we move into item number 1 now?
Okay, just a moment. Let me bring up that item. Okay, so next application is item number 1. This is 14 Southgate Avenue. It's to construct a rear addition and interior alterations. We have before us a forestry report, letter of support. We have 5 different variances requested, number of items on the on file, but the variances are minimum building, west side setback, front yard setback, building length, proposed lot coverage, proposed west side yard setback. Okay, so.
Through you, Mr. Chair, before we bring on the speaker, just to note that there are engineering, heritage, and planning conditions as well, if approved, and also a forestry denial memo that wasn't previously shown. We can put that up right now for your information. I believe you received a copy as well. The applicant is aware as well.
Let me make sure I got the right one. And so I think I might have read in, did I read the? Oh no, I read the wrong one. Sorry about that. Let me do this again. Item number 1, I think I might have read the wrong, I had the wrong application before me. So let's do it again. Sorry about that, people. I had the wrong notes in front of me. Back to item number 1. Item number 1 is actually 140 Bogart Avenue. This is a consent request to obtain consent to sever property into 2 undersized residential lots. So these are file numbers B0002/24NY, A0015/24NY, and A0016/24NY. They are going to be considered jointly. So we have a number of items, a number of submissions before us, but just to summarize what those are, we have an engineering report, we have an urban forestry report, we have a heritage planning report, we have a Ravenna natural feature protection report, okay? And just to be clear, as articulated by previously by our staff, there is a urban forestry request for a denial of the application due to impacts to the bylaw protected trees. Okay, so thank you for bearing with me. Now let's deal with item 1, and we have here, I believe, the applicant and a couple of other people to speak. We have the owner and the applicant, but we only get one of them, so you can split up your 5 minutes as appropriate. Now, are they present with us, or are they online?
Yes. Good morning. It's Glenn Rubinoff from Rubinoff Design Group. I'm the agent for the owner on this application, and I'm virtual. I'm online. So.
Okay.
May I begin
Yeah. So
my presentation?
you gave your address, right? Did you?
It's sorry, I did. It's 18 Gloucester Lane, Toronto, Ontario.
Okay, so I noticed in the speakers, there is also an owner. I take it that you're going to be using the full 5 minutes yourself, right? The owner, it's up to the owner to.
Yes.
Okay, all right,
Through you, Mr. Chair, can we ask if the agent is making any changes?
sure. Agent, Mr. Agent, are you making any changes to this application?
Hello, yeah, it's Mr. Rubinoff here. No changes are requested.
Okay.
The application as submitted. We'll proceed.
Okay, fine.
So this is
Please proceed.
So this is an application for a lot severance at 140 Bogart Avenue. We provided a map of the area. We've worked on this plans for quite some time. We've spoken with planning, the planning department. Planning actually did not send in a formal report, but they simply sent a notation to the committee. I don't know if it's possible to pull that up. But the initial comments from planning, our planning staff have no comments or concerns with the proposed consent and related minor variance applications. So planning looked at this from the perspective of the four tests. Does it meet the area? Does it fit into the area, the context of what redevelopment looks like in the area? So planning had no concern with it. The comments from engineering was just conditions of approval. They had transportation had no comments, and engineering and construction services has no objections as well. And the other report that's from Heritage Planning is simply an archaeological review that they'd like to have as a condition of approval. So the only comments that came up very recently and the memo that came today was from the forestry department. Now, forestry just simply stated that they want this application to be refused based on a city tree. We've done an arborist report. We submitted a copy of it. Yes, if you can go down. So basically, it's one. There's a map at the bottom. Actually, if you want to go to the map at the bottom, that might be the first point to show. There's a there. If you go up, there are several trees on the property, most of which are being protected. If you look at the back of the property, we've made efforts to ensure that they are protected. The red line there is an indication of all that. The one tree that is of concern to forestry is the city tree in the front. The comments from the arborist at the beginning of the report, if you can go back up, I'll just state it because I have a copy here. Although the tree is in fair botanical condition, it has been grossly disfigured due to excessive pruning to clear away from the energized lines. So there's a photo of the tree, beginning of the report, which shows it's almost in a Y. There's a lot of clearing that's gone away, and it's being impacted significantly by, I guess it's probably maybe engineering or to keep the lines clear. And the arborist points out that it has been significantly impacted, not by my client, but by the city themselves going through and significantly impacting it. But one comment that always comes to mind when we go through these applications for lot severance, we take into consideration a lot of factors. We look at the lot configuration, we look at the area, and we work with planning. We primarily look at the how it fits into the neighborhood. Obviously, we introduce a second home, we have to have a second driveway. Forestry hasn't had a chance to review this arborist report, but they have a condition in their report that if approved, that they would require their review process, their proper permit application and submission, and where they would actually look at things and make recommendations. I feel that is the fail-safe that they have to control development on the site. And I feel that is more appropriate to have a condition of forestry than just to simply request refusal in this file, considering all the other applications and lack of comments. So I feel this is a reasonable application. The variances are consistent with redevelopment in the area, and I feel this will enhance the site and reinforce the redevelopment style of what's happening in the area and add additional housing. So while I understand there's a concern about the tree, I do feel we can address it through the forestry condition if it's attached. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Panel members?
I don't want to use up more time.
Questions for the applicant?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's not a question for the applicant, but could staff scroll up in the arborist report and show us the photo of the tree?
That's up more. Sorry, up. You have to go. That one there, yeah. And it's not, well, my apologies. It's not in great shape, and it's one of those things where we're happy to work with forestry, but we'd like to have the opportunity.
Mr. Allison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question for the applicant. I'm just curious, why could the driveway not be shifted to the east on Part B to avoid the tree? It seems like there's enough space, and it seems like the driveway with a little bit of a push could work around that.
Yes. Yes. Thank you very much. Actually, this is a good example. This drawing right here, the blue line indicates the tree protection zone. So you see the dashed line. So while we certainly would be happy, and that's part of what we would do with forestry, is try some options of shifting it over, try some alternative driveway access to allow for possibly shifting it over to see if there's a way to work with it. But it does, the tree protection zone pretty much covers that side. And that's why the arborist, he's an experienced arborist and has done this investigation for us on this and on several other properties. He's simply stating that considering the gross malformation of the tree as a result of the pruning, he feels that we can replant, 2 or 3 trees to offset the impact of this, but also allow for a second home to be built here, which is what I feel is what the official plan is looking to see, redevelopment of the site and increase the amount of homes available in the city. And we could talk about affordability, but that's not a planning issue. It's just more the fact that planning has no concerns with this development. Engineering has no concerns with it. Transportation has no concerns with it. But this is where we are. Thank you.
All right, any further questions, panel members? All right, we have a resident who wants to speak?
We do, Mr. Chair.
Yes, okay. We put him on the line, or her on the line, please.
Good morning. My name is Li Yuan Ren. I live at 146 Bogart Avenue. I don't have comment at the moment. I just want to call in because I'm the immediate neighbor, so I'm very interested in this proposal. That's all.
All right, thank you. Okay, panel members, question of the resident? No question. Let's go into committee. Do we have any comments on this, questions or motions?
I'm happy to start us off. I'm inclined to go back to the applicant and ask if they'd be open to deferral, such that they have an opportunity to try to mitigate the removal of the tree via shifting the driveway over. I'm a little reluctant, frankly, just to authorize approval and say, "Oh, forestry will deal with it after."
Okay,
but I'm curious to see what my colleagues have to
I'm prepared to come out of committee. We'll and so you can ask the applicant your question.
Yeah, perhaps first, I'm just curious if my colleagues share any of the same concerns with respect to, because I think the applicant could benefit just from at least having a discussion with forestry before we.
Through you, sorry, through you, Mr. Chair. I acknowledge forestry's concerns with it, but I think that condition 5 would obligate the owner to, or the applicant to discuss with forestry, because it would be a permit to injure that city-owned tree. In any scenario, it seems like that you can't respect the drip line of the tree and allow the application to go forward. But I think in this case, perhaps, removal might be appropriate and other trees can be planted in its place. So I think it's fair to proceed with the conditions of forestry.
That's actually what I was looking for from a colleague. So to that comment, I would be satisfied moving forward. But I think a condition to plant a new tree or work with urban forestry to include a new tree on each of the new lots would be appropriate. Perhaps an appropriate way to balance that removal. So I bet perhaps we want to, we would like.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'd be hesitant to obligate forestry to fulfill a condition that they did not request. They may have outlined a condition in their memo. If you want to see it, we can put it back up again.
Through Mr. Chair, condition 3 is part of what forestry is requesting, which says where there's no existing street tree. I think we can leave it up to forestry to figure that out and not necessarily tell them what to do.
I guess just.
We need to put that memo back up, the denial one, because it specifies which condition they want. So we'll put that up right now.
But I'm just a little confused, though. They requested a denial, so we're just refusing that request if we allow to go forward, which is what you're saying, because condition number 3, they didn't have to also request a refusal. They could have just requested condition number 3. So, I mean.
That is correct. I am suggesting that I look at the condition of that tree. I see trees like that all the time that get knocked down in a windstorm because they're not very sturdy, given that they're being cut to accommodate hydro wires. So I just think possibly a new tree is the best idea on this lot, but I would leave it up to forestry's expertise to figure that out. So I think that it's still appropriate to require the conditions of forestry and move forward with a motion to approve.
I'm satisfied with those comments. So,
Yeah, so
I would support that.
So we got a seconder, Ms. Casson, Mr. Allison. I'm taking.
Perhaps put a formal motion forward.
There are a number of conditions, if you could consider, please, if approved.
Yes, I'm happy to move a motion to approve, subject to the conditions of heritage, forestry, 1, 3, and 5, engineering and planning on this application.
1, 3, and 5, but 5 is the refusal, right? And I guess is it not?
Yeah, if you look at the memo, they actually tell you which condition they would like you, if you approve it.
1 and 3?
So it's 1 and 3, not 5, because 5 was the refusal.
My apologies, conditions 1 and 3.
Okay, good. So we have a seconder. Is that Mr. Allison?
I'll second that, yep.
Okay. We have any further discussion, or those in favor?
There wasn't much concern with this one. It was frankly just the tree. And with these things, I like to ensure that the applicant has really made an effort to, but in this case, I do accept the submission that the tree is, I mean, it has undergone quite a bit of significant pruning as a result of the hydro lines, and I do recognize that.
Okay, so we got the motion on the floor and a seconder for that motion by Mr. Allison. Are those in favor of the motion? Okay, so all in favor. Thank you. So the application's approved. So we're on to item number 2.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So item number 2 is 147 Burbank. It's to construct a new dwelling. 7 variances involved here. You have a few reports. They include arborist report, forestry report, Toronto Region Conservation Authority report, which has identified some conditions. These variances are proposed rear deck projection, proposed building height, elevation of the lowest point of the proposed main pedestrian entrance, proposed building length, proposed building depth, proposed front yard setback, proposed east side yard setback. Do we have the applicant or the applicant's agent here?
Ali Shakiri, 326 Shepherd Avenue East. Good morning, sir.
Okay, thank you. Do we need to hear panel members?
Through you, Mr. Chair, is the agent making any changes?
Are there any changes made by the agent?
No, sir, there is not.
Okay, so now just panel members, do you need to hear from the agent? There's nobody else opposed. Do we have another speaker? I don't see any other speaker here. Okay, so panel members, do you want to hear from the agent or not hear from the agent? Anybody want to hear from the agent? I don't see anybody that really wants to hear from the agent, but Mr. Agent, you have the floor. It's up to you. We're willing to give you your time. Nobody on the panel has indicated that they need to hear from you, and there's nobody opposed. But if you want to say a thing, one or two things, but if you do, I'd suggest keep it short because there's no request to hear from you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I do have one question,
okay.
perhaps the applicant.
Okay.
Just one, it's a brief question, and perhaps the applicant can just speak to the variance for the main entrance height. I do notice that there are some raised heights on the street,
Okay.
but I'm a little reluctant at that height, just given the number of steps to the front door.
Okay, so we'll turn it back to you, Mr. Agent. So the request is to address the height. You may want to also, there are some conditions, Toronto Region Conservation Authority had conditions. You may just want to state whether you're in agreement with those. But we don't need a full-blown presentation from you, so you can use your time. You got your 5 minutes, but I suggest try to keep it short. Use your time wisely. Go ahead.
Sure. The level of the first floor, it can vary from case to case. Basically, that factor is determined by the site topography. While some of the projects or some of the lots might not need to have that variance, some others may require. Obviously, the reason for asking that variance is to control the number of interior stairs when you enter the house, and it's not making any impact on the overall height of the building, which we are in compliance with here. As for the other issues, we have no objection from TRCA. We've been in contact with the planning department, and I have submitted evidence to support that. They have no concern. We've seen the condition from the forestry, and it's acceptable. And if there is any other question, I'd be happy to answer.
So thank you. I know, Mr. Allison, are you satisfied? Do you have more questions for the applicant? Anybody else have questions?
I'm just, if it's a follow-up question, same for me, variance number 3. If the applicant could just explain how would be the variance 3 satisfies the 4 tests, especially for appropriate development and fits in the community, if you could just elaborate on that.
Well, in terms of satisfying the 4 test, I would say it has very, very minimal impact on the overall massing of the building. So that only controls the level of the entrance. So the entrance door can go a little bit higher and perhaps a little bit shorter because the top of that door has to stay in line with the other windows. And it doesn't have too much of impact on the overall mass of the building. This is a neighborhood with a lot of developments. There are some other basically developments that have actually requested for the same variance been approved by the committee. I find it very minor. There are, if you look at I think I've submitted some support evidence of the previous approvals. For example, number 221 Burbank Drive has asked for 3.2 meters, which is substantially greater than what I'm asking here. Been approved. That's on first page of the comparables. We do not require that. Perhaps that they need it for their a particular design had been approved by the committee. There are some others. For example, I can see number 149 Burbank Drive, for example, 1.75 meters. And again, I wish to state that that has very, very minimal impact, if any, on the overall massing of the building. And we considered that from our side, the minor, of course, it's with you how to feel about it. And I have nothing further to say.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So the comparison that you are sharing with us, would you please point out if they are in the immediate context or the broader?
Usually the evidence I submit, I try to be as relevant and as close as possible. Number 221 Burbank is the same street, just maybe a little bit north than that. There is 149 is immediately the adjacent neighbor, 175 centimeters is highlighted. I would, let me just look at my other support. 198.98 meter, 202 Burbank. Same, very close vicinity. On the same street, I am just looking 2 meters on number 54 Sumner Heights, which is a very close street. Well, I mean that's as far I have submitted. I thought that would be adequate, but of course it's up to you. I think going from 1.2 to 1.5, just 1 foot is very minor, and it's majorly greater than that is approved in the vicinity. So. I never thought that would be a concern, but again, I totally respect your opinion on this.
Thank you.
Further questions, panelists? All right. So we're into committee.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to note the TRCA condition. We don't typically impose that fee collection. That is between TRCA and the applicant.
Okay.
Just keep that in mind.
That, thank you. Okay. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just happy to kick off this discussion. I do have a slight concern with that variance. I'm not convinced the applicant really understands what the purpose of that variance is, which is really to regulate the entrance. It has really nothing to do with the height of the building. I mean, it can affect the height of the building, can affect the massing. But the intent of that variance is really to regulate where the front door, because that is, when you're coming down the street, you want to look at, we're trying to get a little bit of consistency here on the street with these front entrances. And I look at the immediate context. I'm not seeing doors at 1.5 meters. I do recognize that there is a bit of height increase on the adjacent neighbor, but It is a couple steps shorter. So, I mean, we're looking at a difference of 2 steps here. So I'm not going to be hung up on this, but I just think that, we shouldn't be overlooking this variance as a sort of technical variance and say, well, it's not really affecting the height. So let's just sort of, it is what it is.
Just so I understand this, because I'm looking at the street view, and to me, they look the same. Like 147 looks like 149. Am I wrong?
They're close. I think, you look at that. That's why I'm curious to hear what my colleagues have to say. You're looking at a difference of, I think the variance is 0.4 meters, which is equivalent essentially to 2 additional steps.
Right.
So when I go down the street, I'm counting steps essentially, just to at least get an idea, right? Or in some cases, we get the door sill elevation off the survey, so you can see how the door is lining up to the adjacent neighbor. But I'm not hung up on it, but I'm curious to see what my colleagues have to say.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Marzai.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. I agree with Mr. Allison. I think I'm not a big fan of these raised entrances. It's just not a great connection to the street, but for this case, I refer to the 4 test. It's just 2 steps. I think it satisfies, and it appears to be minor to me. So I'm prepared to make a motion to approve this application. That's my only concern with that I think it's minor.
Okay, seconder by Ms. Casson.
Yeah.
With conditions, so the conditions on.
Yeah, I can add a forestry condition 1 and 3 to the approval.
Okay, so a motion subject to condition, seconded by Ms. Casson. Comments by anyone on that motion? Those in favor of the motion? Okay, so it's approved by everyone. So congratulations, you've got your approval. We're on to item number 3. Well, but I think this one.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. So I think this one was deferred. Let me just, yes, that was deferred. So we're on to item number 4. Okay, so item number 4, 225 Ridley Boulevard, proposal to construct 1-story addition, rear addition. There are some reports, arborist report, forestry report. There are requested variances to permit maximum lot coverage. All right, so we have an applicant. This is item number 4. Agent not registered.
No, Michael Guido, I'm here.
Okay, great. So would you please
Michael Guido
state your address and then go ahead. You'll have 5 minutes.
Thank you so much. Through the chair. My name is Michael Guido from Mesh 28 Architects. We are seeking
did you say your address?
Maximum lot coverage.
Sorry, did you say your address? I'm not.
Oh, pardon. Sorry. It's 310 Valeur Park in Vaughan.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead. You've got 5 minutes.
Yeah. We are seeking minor variance on maximum lot coverage of 30%. The proposal is for 35.61 lot coverage. The request is minor in nature and is within reason. The requested variance of the rear addition is in line with the existing rear building wall and also that of the side. And also the requested variance is appropriate for a rear addition as we're providing a new at-grade entry for the couple. That's it.
Okay, perfect. Questions to the applicant? No questions. We have some area residents. Oh, well, we've got we do have an area resident registered to speak. Is that person available? Hello?
Yes.
Yes, so please state your name and address.
Is that me?
Yes, it is.
My name is Jack Orsi, and I'm at 227 Ridley Boulevard. And what we are proposing for 225 is merely an extension of the wall that is the east side of the garage that's attached to the house. So it's not as though we're expanding the width of the house.
So just
What
let
we
me
are doing
understand.
is carrying the.
Are you the owner of this? You're at 227, are you? Or just let me understand.
No, I'm in 227.
You're in 220. So you're not the owner.
My wife owns 225.
All right. So your wife owns 225, and you had an agent who just spoke, and you're just giving further explanation. 'Cause
Yes.
we only give one 5 minutes block. Do you really do you have anything that you want to add to what your agent has already said?
No, my wife does, Corey Gould.
Okay.
I'm just explaining that what we're doing is extending the east wall of the garage
Okay,
back
so
so that we
just
can
let me
add
let me be
room.
clear. We got 5
space.
minutes, right? So you can split it up any way you want, but we're done. But the agent didn't use his full 5 minutes. Yeah. Okay. So you got go ahead, but recognize we got 5 minutes amongst all you because you're only the applicants. Is there any? If there's nobody opposed, we don't even really need to hear from you, but we might. Yeah, he gets his 5 minutes if he wants it, right? But we're prepared to go into committee and ask you questions. There's nobody here opposed, right? So do you really want to take your time, or do you want to just be open for questions? Because we've heard from your agent, and we understand the application.
All right, we can be open for questions.
Does anybody have question from the applicant, the agent?
Mr. Chair, I think this is a pretty straightforward application, and I think if I'm just gauging from the room, I think we can move right into committee with this, if it's okay with you.
Okay, so we're into committee now. Thank you to the applicant and the participants. Any comments by panel members?
Mr. Chair, I think this is a very reasonable application. It's a pretty modest intensification to the site. I do take the submission of the agent that, the building they're sort of infilling the notch at the back. There really isn't any adverse or undue impact that I see here. I therefore am happy to bring a motion to approve the application. I do see a report from forestry, although I do note that there are no conditions with it. So would be approved without condition.
Okay, motion to approve without conditions. Seconder. Okay, I just noticed Mr. Fazeli at the end has seconded it. I think everybody, all in favor of that motion? Everybody is in favor. All right, so congratulations. You have your approval, and we're on to the next item. It's number 5. Again, this item 5, be clear, this is 128 Snowden to construct a new 2-story dwelling. There's 6 variances requested, and we have a forestry report. We have a letter of objection. We have a staff report. We have a transportation report. Just to be clear, we have a staff report that's asked for a modification to variance number 5. The variances, just to summarize the 6 variances, rear deck projection, floor space index, front yard setback, rear yard landscaping, height of the side, exterior main wall, and proposed building length. So before you begin, Mr. Applicant, and I take it there are no other speakers, is that correct? No other speakers, but there was a letter of objection on file. So, Mr. Applicant, you can state your name. Well, I'd ask you to state your name and your address. You'll have 5 minutes, but also I'd like you to please advise if there been any modifications to your application and start off with that. Okay, so go ahead, you've got 5
Okay. Hi, good morning. My name is Roy Chen, and my address is 280 Shields Court, Unit B. And we are proposing, there's a change in the side main wall height where we have worked with planning to reduce it from 9.62 down to 9.32. And planning staff is in support of that after we made the adjustment. All the other variances remain the same. And I guess just to go through variance number 1, we're asking for an additional 2 feet for the rear deck. And yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So yeah, just to be clear, just so for our record, you're modifying variance number 5, that, as I indicated
Yes.
earlier. Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Keep going.
Correct. There's correspondence in the uploaded information and the email by staff, which is online also. All the other changes remain the same. Item number 3, just to clarify, the front yard setback is measured actually to the cantilevered bay window above, which is why we are requesting for a variance for the front yard setback, because the actual garage, we call it the main wall. It's actually the garage face, which is set back at 5.86. Because the bay window is not stepped in from the side, it is the setback have to be measured to the bay window that's cantilevered on the second floor. And same goes for the variance for the building length. It's also measured to the bay window at the front and the bay window at the back, because it is not set back from the side wall. So those are the just to explain where we're coming from in terms of the variances. As far as the letter of opposition, we've reviewed it. It's just, I think it's a standard opposition against all applications in the area. A lot of the things that are said in there has nothing to do with us, which is about more than 10 kilometers away from our property. And Snowden is not under TRCA jurisdiction, so there's no regulations for anything related to environment and flooding. So I believe that opposition letter does not apply to us, whatever is mentioned in there.
All right.
I think that's it. That's all I have to say.
Okay, perfect. Panel members, questions of the applicant? No questions? No questions. Okay.
Can we just clarify what the height reduction is? I got 9.62 to, is it 9.32?
9.32.
32.
Yes.
I followed that. It was the same as what was requested by the staff.
By staff? Okay.
Okay. So further questions? No further questions. Into committee? Panel members, comments, questions, motions? Mr. Allison?
Through you, Mr. Chair. I had a slight concern with respect to the side main wall height, but that's clearly been addressed, and I thank the applicant for working with community planning to bring down the main wall height. I do note that the properties on either side are fairly newer builds. They do have a front gable, which helps to mitigate the impact of the front main wall. So I think actually in terms of fit, the revised, the amended building height is actually going to bring this right in line with the 4 tests. Any other comments from my colleagues? I'd be happy to make a motion.
Sure, go ahead.
Sure. So I'll make a motion to approve the application subject to the conditions outlined in forestry. I do see transportation wrote in, but there are no conditions. Believe that is. Oh, of course, yes, and planning as amended to the conditions noted in planning. So I will note the motion is that this is an amended application.
Right.
Can we pull up the?
So let me. I'll read it. The side yard exterior main wall height will be developed substantially according to the east and west side elevation drawings.
9.32.
Yeah.
and tied to the recommendations noted in the community planning report.
Okay.
Thank you for catching that.
I'd be happy
Right.
to second that, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Mr. Maiziari? Any debate, comment? All in favor? Okay, it's approved. Congratulations. On to the next one.
I did.
Okay, so where are we? We're at Beesboro. This is item number, Bessboro, item number 6.
Item number 6, Mr. Chair, the agent is live with us in person.
Perfect. All right, so let me summarize here. 36 Bessboro Drive, proposal for 2-story side addition, rear second floor addition over existing 1-story, existing bay window at the front to be rebuilt. 8 variances requested, 9 letters of support on file, staff report, which was a negative staff report to refuse variance number 4, refuse variance number 5. Have a transportation report, also negative report, recommends deferral of the proposed matter. The variances include front yard setback, side yard setback, side yard setback to rear deck, side yard setback to front canopy, lot coverage, floor space, rear yard landscaping, and parking space width. Okay, so before we turn it over to the applicant, and I believe it's the applicant agent, we're going to ask you to state your name, your address, and also if you could start to say whether there's been any amendments to the application. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Ian Cunha, number 10 Northampton Drive in Etobicoke. I'm representing the owners of number 36 Bessboro Drive. There will not be any changes. We are proposing this application as it is. The 2 items that you brought up regarding transportation and planning. So planning would require us, I discussed it with them, and they would require us to have a 0.90 meter setback, which basically would not allow us to have a garage. So the garage would be completely gone. Transportation is asking for us to have a wider garage, which is impossible because we don't have any more space. We are, the addition on the side is being built over the existing garage and a driveway that has access to this garage, and it abuts the back of the properties at Sutherland. So we don't have a neighbor immediately next to us. The application is basically, if we go, it's not a long street, it's not a big street. If you go down to the beginning and start with number 10, 14, 15, 22, 28, 30, 32, 34, they're all similar footprints with an attached garage. So we're basically asking to be allowed to build what's already common on the street. And as you can tell from the number of neighbors that I have submitted letters of approval, they agree that this application is a good application.
All right. That's it?
That's it.
Panel members, question to the applicant.
Transportation in their memo noted concern with respect to egress. So you've got a driveway, you've got a garage, right?
Right.
You've got a certain width.
Exactly.
You pull in, right, with your car. How do you get out of the car if you're limited in width?
It's exactly the same garage that's been there since the house was built.
Okay.
Okay. So it's an existing garage, which you see almost on every single house on this street. Very similar. So I agree with you. Like it's not easy, but you might have to only open on one side. But we're working on an existing condition. Like these variances that we talked about, 4 of them, they're existing. We can't undo them.
Okay, one more question. With respect to the side yard setback, I presume you've discussed with the flanking neighbors over on...
Absolutely.
Okay, and they have no issues or concerns with respect to the adjacency of your side yard in relation to their rear yard?
Correct.
Okay.
Actually, we actually have some letters of support from number 38, which fronts onto Sutherland.
I see that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No further questions.
Other panel members? Questions?
Just one question regarding that north side yard setback. What is the existing side yard setback?
On the north,
The one we're planning.
4 centimeters,
Okay,
which is exactly what we're asking for.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any questions, panel members? Oh, okay. I understand there's nobody else to speak about this, so let's go into our committee. Comments, questions? Members?
Mr. Chair, I think that this application is minor in nature. I think that the applicant's attempt to increase the size of the house or the functionality of the house by using the existing footprint is fine, and the variances are for things that are existing. I understand transportation's concerns, but I too have a very small garage like that. I know what it's like, and you can only get out on one side. So it's just I think it's consistent with the neighborhood in terms of the size, and would be different if we were considering a brand new build where you have the ability to increase the size of the garage. So for those reasons, I think that it is within the intent of the zoning bylaw. It is minor, and the official plan to approve an application like this, and I'm happy to move a motion in that regard. I don't think there are any conditions.
Well, it asked for refusal, right? Staff asked for refusal of variance.
So my
4 and
motion is
5.
contrary to that.
But you can do it, right? It's just that they didn't put conditions, they put in request for refusal. Unless you want to modify those variances, number 4 and 5.
Yeah. My motion stands without conditions.
Okay, so we got a motion on the floor standing without condition.
I'm happy to second it. I do recognize this is, they're trying to work with an existing building. I do recognize also that this street, it is pretty common to take that side yard setback and intensify by doing an integral garage with something built over top. And I appreciate that they're trying to work with the existing building rather than tear it down and start from scratch. I think it's a unique condition where there's flanking properties. People with rear yard setbacks, a pretty good rear yard setback actually helps to mitigate the impact of a reduced side yard setback, and I think it's pretty negligible considering also that they do have an existing garage set further back with a similar same side yard setback. So I'll second the motion without condition. I'd add.
Okay, so without condition on the staff report and the transportation report. The transportation wanted additional supporting materials, so we're not asking for that either, right? Okay, so we got a motion on the floor. Any comments on that motion? Questions on the motion? Prepared to vote on the motion, so all those in favor of the motion? Okay, it's approved. Congratulations.
Thank you.
To the next matter. The next matter is item number 7, 33 Montresor. So this is 33 Montresor Drive to construct a new dwelling. 6 variances here. Let me just check on who we have. Confusing here, but we've only got one person to speak to it. 6 variances. We have number of items on our file, including arborist report, ravine report, staff report, transportation report, TRCA report. Just read briefly these variances. Variances are front yard setback, lot coverage, platform encroachment into the required front yard, proposed driveway width, proposed building setback, and proposed building with a setback from the shoreline hazard and the proposed building or structure 3.9 from a shoreline hazard. Okay, so we do have in the staff report a request to modify variance number 4 regarding the driveway width from 9.89 meters to 6.9 meters. So that's a request from the staff. So we're going to turn it over to the applicant's agent in a moment. And if you could please state your name, state your address, and also if there are any modifications to your application. Okay, go ahead, please. And you got 5 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Mehran Haydari, 1090 Don Mills Road, Unit 506. I'm designer and applicant for this application. So thank you for explaining the staff report. So after we communicated with the staff, with the Mrs. Sina, so we changed the driveway width to the 6.9 meter, but after we received the transportation report requesting the deferral, and it was the last minute of submission, so we removed this variance number 4. We are removing variance number 4 totally from the application. And for the satisfaction of the transportation, because their concern on the report, it's clearly say that their request is driveway width shouldn't be more than the garage width after entrancing the driveway to the house, to the building. So the garage width, exactly same garage width that is 3.3 meter should be same width of the driveway. So I want to have the approval with the condition with the driveway width to be 3.33 meter for satisfaction of the transportation.
Okay, thank you. You can continue on with your submission.
Yes, and if you look at the site plan that is submitted at the 15th of the March 2024, so we have the site plan, the last submission that we have on the file. Not this one, the another file. Not this one too. It's attached to corresponding with the staff. The title is supporting material.
Just concerned, like what's going on? Do we not have this up because we're, oh, okay.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So we reduced the driveway width, and if you see, the house is the site condition is very tight, and we have the TRCA and driving lot on the back that we complied with the condition of the TRCA, and we got approval from the TRCA, and they have no objection about this application and the variance that we have here. They are happy with this application, and the front yard setback that we have is exactly same front side setback of number 31 that is line up with that. It's 6.52 meters. So we have the very tight condition. So everybody, the staff and the transportation are happy with these changes. And if there is any question, I'm more than happy to answer.
All right, thank you. Panel members, question of the applicant?
I do have a little bit of concern with respect to the front yard setback. I noticed that you mentioned that you took the measurement off of the adjacent property at number 31, which I do see on the site plan.
Yes.
But I do recognize there is a property on the other side at number 35, right? That is set back further from the street. And oftentimes, I mean, the reason with the front yard setback with the averaging is that we don't want to have, we would like to have the houses kind of follow, right? Where you don't have one house come out too far. I mean, in this case, it is quite a large massing, right? You're building, is there any, I mean, perhaps, is there any way you could speak to that adjacency on the opposite side and sort of that, not addressing that, their front yard setback?
Yeah, the owner mentioned that they talked to this, and also if you look at the site plan number 31 in the other side, and if you see the end line of the rear wall of the building, it's almost 10 foot after the length of the building that we are proposing. So, and also the tableland that we are inside, it's longer than the neighbor number 31. And this development and this application is consistent with other approval on the area and all the, because this is a luxury neighborhood and the house size is exactly this size, and all the lot frontage and the total building size is actually more than this. Right now, if you see the rear wall of the building that we are proposing is exactly at the same location of the existing. So we don't have the length variance, we don't have the huge lot coverage variance is slightly more than the 35%. And I believe this is the consistent with the approval in the area, and also the front yard setback we are proposing. It's 1.4 meter projection to the front yard setback. And it's because we have the curb area here on the site plan, and in the left hand we have less. And also, as I mentioned, the owner are happy. The owner of number 31, based on my understanding and knowledge of conversation between the owner of the 33, the adjacent neighbor is happy with this application.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Other questions of the applicant?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I have a question from the applicant. So the latest site plan with the narrowed driveway hasn't been submitted to the transportation yet. No.
So if we did, and they have it.
So why they still receive that these comments?
Because the comment received at the last minute of the submission, and we had the email here. If you look at the conversation that we had with the transportation, we already submitted this site plan to them. And Mrs. Simi and the transportation, I already talked with her, and she are aware of this. And actually, she didn't see the driveway, the garage width at the application. She missed the driveway, the garage width on the application. For this reason, she requested deferral. But after we sent to her everything, and she's happy with that, and I talked with her about that, and you have the email conversation and the file. If you look at the email conversation, she's on the corresponding with the planning department too.
Do we have the email on file? Can you pull that up?
In the March 15th, we sent the email to Mrs. Sina, Mr. Brandon, and Simi. if you look at to the here, we have the email that we have here. We sent to Simi and CC'd Mrs. Sina and also Brandon.
Further questions, panel members?
Nope.
No? Ready to go into committee? Go into committee. Comments from members? Mr. Allison?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Generally, I don't have any issues or concerns with this. I did note that I did have a bit of a concern with the front yard setback. Just given the overall massing of this, I think it would be appropriate to offer at least some step back between the two buildings. There's almost a 2.6 meter difference between the front main wall of the adjacent property and this building. And just given the size, I'd just like to see some recognition that the house is at least trying to find a point in between both of its neighbors on each side, rather than just ignoring the neighbor on one side and coming in line with the front yard setback on the other. I do note there are some architectural features as well, some bays and some, there's small terrace and porch, and all that is pulled forward. So, rather than just refuse the variance, I'd be willing to offer a reduced number, at least to mitigate some of that impact. But other than that, no issues or concerns.
Are you proposing a motion then on that, or you just want to hear from others?
I'd perhaps open the floor to others before.
Any further other comments here? Do we have a motion? Do we want that? In that case, do you want to bring your motion, or do you want to make a modification? Is that part of your motion, or, well, you tell me.
Sure, just give me a moment. Just looking at conditions here.
Just to clarify with my colleague, are you referring to the 2.6 meters from the house to the west? Is that what you were referring to? That it sticks out further? Sorry, there's what appears to be a bungalow to the west.
I
think it's the west.
It's to the east, I think.
Oh.
It's on the left side of the drawing. Here, number, I'll give you the number. I'm just looking at number
35.
35, yeah. I mean, the street also kind of curves up towards the house too, so it doesn't help the situation, the front yard setback. Okay. So we've got a revised site plan with this now, pertaining to the reduced width of the driveway.
Yes, dated 15 of the March 2024. Yeah, end of the year. Yes, this one.
I think we need to tie. In this case, through you, Mr. Chair, ask members whether we should tie any approval to a site plan, revised site plan, yeah. I do note too, I do appreciate the revision on the driveway. I did flag that as a concern, but I'm happy to see that that's been addressed. I think makes for a better proposal as well. So bring a motion to approve the application with an amendment to variance number 1 to a proposed front yard setback of 7.2 meters. And tying it to the site plan. Do we have a date on that, the recent site plan that just came in?
I'm sorry, if we reduced,
The most recent site plan dated,
I'm sorry, if we change the front yard setback, we cannot tie the site plan because the site plan is showing the different number.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think the applicant's proposing to remove variance 4 for driveway width.
Yes.
Is that correct? That's what we were talking
Yes,
about at the
yeah.
beginning. So that would tie him to the 6-meter width driveway, so maybe we
It's
don't need to
different from
tie it to the site plan.
It's different from the latest site plan submitted because it's a different width, right? It's 3 point something.
3.33 meter.
I think as long as they're working within the bylaw, if it's an as of right, I won't get into it. To the applicant's point, there's a bit of concern with respect to tying to the site plan and imposing a reduced or an increased setback on the front. Perhaps we can ask our Secretary Treasurer if there's a way to.
So, sorry, just through you, Mr. Chair, what is your purpose for wanting to tie it to the site plan to begin with?
Well,
You
for the
can't-
reduced
you
driveway,
can't-
but I guess if we
You can't
refuse the
force the
variance.
applicant to go smaller than the requirement. He has a right to build per bylaw.
Oh, of course, yeah. So that said, we don't need to tie to the site plan. We're going to refuse, the variance has been removed.
Correct.
Variance number 4.
Right. So you can't make it any smaller.
No, and I don't.
And if that's the purpose of the site plan, then there's no reason to it, as the applicant said. It would actually make it difficult for him if you're going to amend variance 1.
You're right.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. Okay, so not tying it to the site plan, we'll have an amended approval, 7.2 meters on the front yard setback and removing variance number 4 pertaining to the driveway width.
So I mean, I'm looking at the streetscape on Google Maps, and it looks like the neighbor next door has already gotten a similar setback to what this applicant is requesting. Is that correct?
It's exactly same 6.52.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, we're in the middle of a motion.
Okay, well, sorry, but
Either come out of committee.
do we have a motion here? We got a motion now?
Mr. Allison was in the middle of making
Okay,
a
well,
motion.
I'm commenting on the motion. It's the same as, he's asking for the same, well, he confirmed it even though we're in committee, but when I look at it, it looks the same. So I
I
just,
think what Mr. Allison is suggesting is to go with the average of the two neighbors.
oh, that's what you've done, the average?
It's actually not quite the average. I'm giving a little bit of leniency at 7.2. The average would actually be what the as of right is, the average would be 7.87. I'm trying to offer a little bit of leniency.
Oh, okay. Got it.
But just given the adjacency, I just want to be a little sensitive to the neighbor and also at the slope of the road and whatnot. So I wanted to amend variance number 1 to 7.2. I don't think it's gonna
Okay, I
take
understand.
the applicant's.
So we have the motion on the floor.
Yeah.
And I understand it. So is there a seconder to this motion?
So may I add
No,
information?
no, but you can't talk because we're still in committee. But unless somebody needs the applicant to talk, I'm going to continue on. But do we have a seconder to that motion or a comment on that motion before we have a seconder to the motion? Any seconder to the motion? We do not have a seconder to the motion. All right. Do we have a different motion that somebody is prepared to make?
I can make a motion. I think I'm happy that the building is aligned with the other neighbor. I don't have that concern with the setback, sorry. So I'd like to make a motion to approve this application with the variance number 5 to be removed.
4.
Sorry, 4. Is the driveway width? I
Okay.
don't see any other.
That's it.
Okay, so basically, a motion to approve as amended, the removal of variance number 4. Mr. Marizari, motion. Seconder to that motion. Ms. Castle. Okay, we vote on that motion? Those in favor of that motion? Okay, so it is approved. Opposed?
I'm going to dissent on the one.
Okay, so it's approved with one dissent. All right, congratulations, you have your approval.
Mr. Chair, can I suggest a brief break at this point?
Yes, I was about to ask one. How long do people feel they need for a break? 5 minutes? 5 minutes? 5 minutes. We're gonna have a 5-minute break. Make it 10. 10-minute break. So 11.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You got cookies? Is that a dad's cookie?
My favorite.
Wow.
Those are my favorite.
I'm good for you though.
Here's my stuff.
Oh, were you picking the foot up?
No, no, it's okay, I'm not now.
So you have a buddy, works at Yorkville, and me and Leonard like pop by. He said he's the most chill, like down there, super cool guy.
He's right next level.
Yeah, like he one time it was raining, and he knew they know each other. So come on in. So oh, you came in. I'm at the station.
I love that.
That's awesome.
I totally love that.
Yeah.
It's not like be arrogant.
Yeah, and then one time, I guess I got a call to the police place. So they knew that it was his place or whatever. So they're there. Because they get there, and they're checking things out, making sure everything's clear or whatever, and he's looking around. The person chef was there. The person chef called or whatever. And he's like, stopping my name. You're not doing it, right? He said, no, I'm just chef. No. And he goes, I think you know. And he goes, is he here? He's like,
A little picture of that.
yeah.
You know.
He said it's an interesting place. It's got like this crazy, interesting property.
Yeah.
One.
Not good.
One of a kind. Famous architects. Obviously,
Okay, we are ready to go.
Are we recording? Okay, thank you. Okay, so now, welcome back, everyone. We just had our break. We're now on to item 9. Item 9 is 31 Cotswold Crescent. It's a proposal to construct a new 2-story dwelling with a rear 1-story sunroom and a rear cabana. There are 6 variances. We have a number of items before us, including a forestry report and a staff report. And the staff report comments on the length and depth of the building, rear yard and both side yard setbacks. These variances are for proposed building length, proposed building depth, proposed rear yard setback, proposed east yard setback, proposed west yard setback, and proposed lot coverage. So, item 9, we have a agent registered and agent registered and owner. So you've got 5 minutes for combined. And if there's any amendments, if you could please state them. So if we could bring forward the agent, state your name and address, please.
Yes, my name is Tom Sprague, and Tom Sprague. The name of our company is Sprague and Company Architects, and we're located at 156 Duncan Mill Road, and that's Suite 17A. I did talk to the owner. I'll just do the brief presentation just myself. So what I would like to do, if I could, would be just to give a brief background about the 6 variances that you see before you. And I'm wondering, we sent supporting material through, and there was supporting material sent through on February the 22nd. If you could please pull that up, because I think that was sort of a chart of other examples, which will put what we're proposing to do into scale.
Okay.
So
Just
yes,
quickly-
there's the chart, right?
Okay, well, I guess because there was the staff report did comment on it. Okay, fine. So I'm presuming everybody
Yes, they
wants to
did.
hear
I'll just
from the
very briefly continue on,
No, but
because
just
I think it will help.
we don't need a presentation. Do we need a presentation, panel members? Do we want a presentation?
I think I'd like to just briefly explain some of the things which I think would be helpful for the committee if I
Yeah,
could.
you
So
got-
basically that,
Do we want a full present? I'm just canvassing the panel members. Do we? Okay, so yeah, we may want to keep it brief. There's nobody in opposition, but and the panel members may.
Oh,
have
I
questions.
realize
So
that.
just, get to the heart of the matter, and you've got.
Yes,
your
no, I
5
will for
minutes,
sure.
but you
So
may
I
not
think-
need it all.
No, I
My
certainly won't
suggestion
need it.
is not to
But
use
just
it all, but it's
basically-
up to you.
Yes, no. I will just say, more information for the committee. We had posted this, but it shows the coverage, other examples of building length and side yard setbacks. So certainly in keeping with the scale and size of other homes in the area. Then I'd like if you would also turn, if you could, to the other application submission we made, which was made on March the 12th. If you could pull that up, because I think that's a helpful drawing, site plan. There you go. And I think that's a helpful drawing because it does explain the degree of these variances. If you'll notice that the main bulk of the 2-story building is very close to the 17 meters, which is the bylaw length. But where 2 of these variances are really as a result of a rear 1-story shaded addition, of which you can see there's a 19-meter length extending through there. And also at the rear setback is a small encroachment. But these encroachments of the rear are at this 1-story. It's not as if it's the full width of the back of the house, the length. And then also at the sides, it just shows the degree of, because of the unique nature of the property, the display of the side yard setbacks that do encroach into the 1.8 meters. So a very small area when you look at it this way. So due to the unique nature of the property, I thought this was a helpful one to just convey to the committee. I am in that was referred to letter, the staff report. And I think their comments I agree with very well. And they also had a request to tie the length of the site plan into as a condition of a decision, and that would be totally fine for us. So I'll try and be as brief as possible, but in summary, I feel that what's being done here is very appropriate, certainly in keeping with the style and of the size of the other homes in the area, and I feel it's very appropriate and minor in nature.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Panel members, questions to the applicant? No questions. Let's go into committee. In committee, do we have anyone with any comments or a motion? Mr. Allison, Mr. Marziari.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I don't have any concern with this application. So I'd like to make a motion to approve this application, subject to the planning staff condition that the building length and depth to be tied into site plan. Also, urban forestry condition number 2.
I'll second that.
Seconder, Mr. Allison, is that okay? Those in favor of the motion? It's approved. Congratulations. On to our next item.
Thank you very much.
10. Thank you. So item number 10, we have application 5 Overton Place, construct a new two-story dwelling. We have in front of us a number of documents, including a study report from Metrolinx, which asks for an easement for Metrolinx and confirmation to Metrolinx. This deals with, there's 3 items here: elevation of lowest point of the proposed main pedestrian entrance, proposed lot coverage, proposed area of each platform on the rear balcony. All right, so we have an area resident apparently as well to speak to it, and we have the applicant available. If applicant, if you could state your name, address, and whether you have made any changes to your application.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Murtaza Davari at 3080 Young Street, Suite 6060, representing the residents of 5 Overton Place. Hello.
Hello, please go ahead.
Yes, as I mentioned, my name is Murtaza Davari at 3080 Young Street, Suite 6060, representing the resident of 5 Overton Place. Given that our application is straightforward, I am to be concise to save time, and I'm prepared to directly answer any question you might have. However, I am also ready to present an overview of our proposal upon request.
Yeah, go ahead and present, because it looks like there's an area resident here who's going to be speaking as well. So you've got your 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Sure. We have proposed the construction of a new 2-story building, which involves 3 minor variances, considering to be minor. We are seeking the committee's approval for these variances as follows. The zoning bylaw requires the main entrance elevation to be no more than 1.2 meters above grade. However, proposal places it at 1.25 meter, a minor increase of 4%. Number 2, while the maximum allowed lot coverage is 25%, our plan calls for 27.39%, just 2.39% above the limit. Number 3, 4 platforms at or above second story. The maximum area is set at 4 square meter. Our platform will be 4.64 square meter, exceeding the limit by about 16%. Regarding the lot coverage, we have reviewed project approved in the neighborhood and found that the average maximum lot coverage percentage previously approved by the Committee of Adjustment is around 30% of the lot area. Our proposal with a lot coverage of 27.39% falls within the range of this previously approved project, demonstrating our commitment to maintaining the consistency with the neighborhood development. So the design process, we have strived to ensure our proposal complies with bylaw requirements to the greatest extent possible, aiming to propose a building that harmonizes with the neighborhood context. The irregular shape of the lot necessitates a stepped design to ensure compliance with zoning requirements as much as possible. I appreciate your attention and patience today, and I'm ready to address any question the committee might have.
All right, panel members, questions? All right, thank you. We have a resident who wishes to speak, do we? All right, please put the resident on. Mr. Resident, please state your name and address, and then you'll have up to 5 minutes.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, yes, I can. Okay, my name's Rick McCauley, and I'm the next door neighbor at 21 Overton Crescent. I have some concerns over the development because, number one, the height is going to, I don't know if there's been a study on the shade on my yard, but my backyard backs onto his front yard and the building itself, and it's going to cause issues with me with regard to the height, and the sun comes up from the east, and it'll affect the sunlight in the morning. Number two is the hedges that are in my yard, and actually on butting onto other yards too. We have this is a 1950s development area in Don Mills. And we want to be able to keep these, I think in the plans, it shows that the hedges are staying. I just want to reconfirm that my hedge is going to stay for sure. And then the third thing is that it doesn't fall into what is being built, like what is the idea of this neighborhood. It's basically they're 3 and 4 bedroom bungalows that are built in the neighborhood. This is going to be another one of these monsters that everybody wants to put up. And it doesn't fit with the neighborhood. Yes, there are a couple of other houses on our street that have been built in the past few years, but my issue is that you're taking away the whole idea of Don Mills, and there are ways of to build bigger houses with more bedrooms and more bathrooms without having to go to the height of what this property wants, and to not just look like a cookie cutter house, which is our houses are not. So that's my concerns, and I'll leave you guys to the rest.
Okay. Well, your chair is a product of Don Mills, so I'm very fond of Don Mills, where I grew up. So I've mentioned that many times as we get these applications. Is there any question to the area resident? Okay, so let's go into committee. Who would like to start? Any comments? Oh, back to the applicant. Sorry, forgot. Mr. Applicant, do you want to address the neighbor's concern?
Yeah, for sure. I think hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're a little muffled. It's up
Yeah,
to
we
you.
appreciate-
If you
yes,
want to comment on his, you have chance for rebuttal. You get the last say before we go to committee.
Yeah, of course. We appreciate the neighbor's concern. However, I think our minor variances were not relevant to his concern. As I mentioned, through the design process, we did our best to respect the neighborhood's context. So I think we did our job. So that's the only comment I had.
Okay. Thanks so much. All right. Now let's go back to committee.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, can I just ask a question to the applicant? Can you just comment on which of these cedar hedges are being retained?
Just to be clear, we're back out of committee. We're just, so everybody can ask questions to the applicant. So, Mr. Applicant, go ahead again and answer the question, please.
Pardon me, could you please repeat again your question?
Yes, could you just comment on which of these hedges, they appear to be down both side property lines and the rear property line. Can you just comment on, are the cedar hedges intended to be maintained? And if
Yes,
so,
definitely. We are going to maintain the.
all of them?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Other questions for the applicant? Seeing none, back into committee. Discussion, debate in committee.
If I'm ready to make a motion, if nobody else has any comments of my colleagues.
Go ahead.
I would like to move a motion to approve this application. I believe it, I appreciate that the applicant explained about the protection of the trees, and I think it satisfies the 4 test.
All right, we have a motion. Seconder to that motion?
Second that.
Mr. Marzari. Prepared to vote on the motion? Those in favor of the motion?
Do note there are some Metrolinx recommendations, but I don't know if
I'm not sure that we need those. in
colleague
there. I
wants
think
to include them or not, or disregard
I'm not
them.
sure we need, well, through the staff, do we need to provide these to Metro?
So through you, Mr. Chair, these are requested conditions from Metrolinx. I will leave it up to you, but if you do, it's really important that the owner understands the conditions.
Okay. Well, so let's be clear then, before we actually really vote on it, what it is. Do we, the motion, Mr. Fazeli, I
Yes.
guess it's your motion, so you can change it if you want before I say approved. There was a request in Metrolink by the Metrolinx to be granted an environmental easement for operational admissions. And they wanted a warning clause to be added. So are you, Ms. Caston wants to comment on this?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I believe that what Metrolinx is asking for is more of a condition that would apply to a condominium apartment or a rental apartment building. In this case, it's a replacement detached dwelling. I really don't think it's applicable.
Yeah.
But I will.
Yes, I prefer to just, I wouldn't add the condition of the Metrolinx.
You prefer to add?
No, no,
Not to add it.
I would
Okay,
not.
so we're preferring not to. So we've addressed it. So the motion is on the floor. The motion is to be voted on. So it was moved by Mr. Fazeli, seconded by Mr. Marziari, and all in favor. Okay, so it's approved. Thank you. We're on to item 11. Congratulations, item 11.
Thank you
is-
so much.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
118 Cassandra Boulevard, where I went to public school. 118 Cassandra Boulevard, proposal to construct a new dwelling, 3 variances. You have an arborist report, a forestry report, a ravine report, TRCA report. The 3 variances are proposed height of the main pedestrian entrance, proposed stairs, proposed height of the side exterior main walls. And we have so this is item 11, and we have a resident and the applicant. So over to the agent of the applicant. Over to the agent of the applicant, please state your name, state your address, and also state if you're making any changes to your application. And go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee member. My name is Morteza Davari at 3080 Young Street, Suite 6060, representing the residents of 118 Cassandra Boulevard.
Okay, go ahead. You've got 5 minutes.
Sure. We have We have submitted a proposal for construction of new two-story building. This project introduces 3 minor variances, which are minor in nature. We are seeking the committee's approval for these variances as outlined below. The bylaw allows for the main pedestrian entrance to be maximum of 1.2 meter above the established grade. Our design proposed this entrance to be 1.25 meter above a slight increase of roughly 4%. Exteriors number 2. Exterior stairs that offer access to a building can extend into a required setbacks area as long as they are not exceed 2 meter in width. Our proposed stairway width is 2.44 meter. The height of the all side number 3. The height for all side exterior main wall is capped at 7.5 meter by the existing guidelines. We are proposing a height of 7.7 meter, just 2.6% above the standard. Through the design phase, we made every effort to align our proposal with the bylaw standards, aiming for a design that fits well with the neighborhood's context. Adjustments have been made to accommodate requirements from the TRCA and RNFP as outlined in our cover letter, ensuring our project aligns with both authorities' guidelines. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Questions to the applicant from panel members? Yes,
Just
Mr.
a
Allison.
quick question concerning the requested building height. Well, I do recognize from a quantitative standpoint it is pretty small. I also recognize I'm having trouble finding precedent within the neighborhood of similar variances granted beyond the bylaw. I don't know if the applicant can speak to any specific properties that share a similar height.
Regarding your question, thanks for your question. In the neighborhood, I can't mention a specific project. However, as I mentioned in the overview, according to the project needs, we had to exit the maximum 7.5 meter, which is now we're proposing 7.7 meter, is just 2.6% above the standard. So I believe this is minor in nature. However, I leave it to you to make a decision regarding this matter.
Further comments? No. Okay. All right. We have a resident. Do we have a resident who wants to speak to this? If we do, put them on, please. And resident, please state your name and address. And you'll have up to 5 minutes. Hello, resident.
We've unmuted the speaker.
Okay, please state your name and address. Hello. Hello. Muted. We
To the
can't
speaker,
hear.
can you just start talking and we'll let you know if we can hear you.
They raised their hand, but I think we give them like 30 seconds to say something because otherwise we got to move on.
I'll try contacting the speaker.
Well, you can, but like in another 15 seconds or so, I'd like to move on with this because you have to have your technology working if you want to make a comment to us. And we don't have anything on the record. There was no written submission submitted. So can't sit here in dead time with public members waiting to have their hearings. Well, let's just...
One more time. So, Mr. Chair, a Samit Kinade has been unmuted.
They've been unmuted, so it wasn't our fault, right? Are they able to speak? Is there an area resident here who can speak? Okay, look, I think we need to move on, so let's go into committee unless there's any questions. If the person shows up while we're in committee before we made our motion and approved it or disapproved it, let's just go into committee then. We got comments from any members on this?
I've got some brief comments, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
I think the variances are minor in nature, certainly from a quantitative standpoint. I do have a little bit of concern with respect to the height. I cannot find any examples in the immediate or broader context to support a height beyond the bylaw of 7.5, and I just want to be, I want us to be a little bit careful here about, this is a new build in a neighborhood. This is one of the first, so this is going to set some precedent and some direction here. So I just put that out there to my fellow members. I'm curious to see what they have to say.
Ms. Casson?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think that I would agree with my colleagues' comments on that, but I think the variances are very minor. The requests are very small, and I don't think we're overstepping and setting a precedent that is too, or is going to cause a big impact throughout the whole neighborhood. So I think it's probably reasonable, and I'm happy to move a motion for approval. If no one else has any other comments, I think that the requests for variances are pretty minor, and they're within the intent of the OP and the zoning bylaw. So subject to forestry condition number 2, I'm prepared to move approval.
I'll second that.
Okay, so, yeah, before we get going on this, like, it's too bad the neighbor wasn't here because we could have heard whether, what they think the impact is, but the fact that there's only one neighbor.
Yeah. Through you, Mr. Chair, I tried calling and got voice message, and we've
fact that-
left the caller unmuted through this entire time and have not heard.
Okay, so, I mean, I know this neighborhood very well. I've been on that street. I went to school around the corner on the same street, and I ran through that neighborhood in the trail behind that house, so I know it really well. I'm surprised more people aren't opposed to it, but I mean, it does seem minor to me, really, in the grand scheme of things. It's beautiful with a ravine in the back. So anyway, we got a motion on the floor, and we got a seconder, right? Who's the seconder?
Mr. Chair, I have the caller on the line now. Would you like to hear from the caller? I'll leave that up to you, as you are in committee.
You know what? I think we just vote on it. We've gone into committee. We gave the caller a lot of time. All those in favor of the motion? Those opposed? Not one opposed. Okay.
But I take my colleagues' comments. I do acknowledge the comments. It's a pretty close call.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so it's approved with a dissent. I don't get to vote on this because it's already approved. No, it's approved with a dissent. Yeah. I think, though we didn't get to hear from the resident, we've got to respect the technology, right? Like, people are here, they have to be ready, it has to go. We can't just be, when a motion's on the floor. So, anyway, it's done. But we did certainly consider all of those issues that a resident might have raised as carefully as we could. Okay, let's move on to the next one, which is item number 12? Yeah, item number 12. Okay. Item number 12 is 170 Pleasant View Drive. Construct a 2-story and second-story addition to the existing dwelling in conjunction with other interior and exterior alterations. There's 3 variances. We have 2 letters of support. The 3 variances are proposed lot coverage, proposed number of stories, which is 3, proposed front yard setback. Okay, we have We have an applicant, we have a neighbor. The applicant, please state your name. That's the agent for the applicant. Please state your name, address, and whether you've made any changes to your application.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Daniel Ventruzzo of Veris Design. I'm at 91 Skyway Avenue, Suite 205. We have not made any changes to our application.
Oh, sorry, you have 5 minutes, Mr. Applicant. Please go ahead.
So our application is to build a second floor over top of the existing dwelling. Our proposed coverage is listed at 48.78, and where the bylaw permits 30% of the lot area. I wanted to point out that the existing lot coverage is already at 38.79, so we're just asking for a 2 square meter increase, which would put us over the 30% with the combination of the proposed and the existing. That coverage is to fill in portion of the existing semi-detached dwelling between the lot line, demising lot line, and the existing dwelling. There's a 1.2 meter by 10.21 meter gap between the two dwellings. It's highlighted on the site plan in the area that is gray. There's a proposal to allow for a 3-story dwelling. This is where the bylaw allows for a two-story dwelling. This is a technical variance, and it is due to the definition of what a story is in terms of basement. The mean average height of the basement is above the established grade, therefore making our basement our first floor. So technically, this house would be considered a 2-story dwelling because of that reason, and by adding the second floor above the existing dwelling, we would be then considered a 3rd story. The rear yard setback, the front yard setback is to the projection that we're proposing over the existing balcony. The existing balcony of the dwelling is where the front door is located, and it's also above the garage. Those two features are, or the porch is already existing, so therefore we don't feel that that impact would be severe. In general, we think that this 3 variances meet the 4 tests of the Planning Act, and we look forward to answering any questions.
Thank you. Questions from panel members? No. All right. Let's move on with the area resident. We have an area resident. If they could be put forward, and once they are on, please state your name, state your address, and you'll have up to 5 minutes to state your case.
I am Dorothy Dixon from 174 Pleasant View Drive. My complaint was about the height and the lack of sun that I will be getting from the west. Also, I would like to point out that the house extension covering the lot to 37.38 would not be in line with the other houses on the street. If the applicant intend to keep it at 2 floors, then that will be okay because it's in agreement with the city's plan for this street. Also, an extension to the back of the house, the rear of the house, would not be in alignment with my house also. That is those are my complaints in regards to this, the proposal for the property.
All right. Thank you for your comments. Questions to the resident? Panel members? No.
Which address is the resident at again?
174.
And 174 Pleasant View.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So that concludes that. We have the applicant. If the applicant gets the final word. So back to you, applicant agent. do you have anything to say about the residents' comments, or can we move on?
The only thing I think I have to say is that the rear, I don't know what rear addition we're proposing. We are proposing an addition to the existing first floor, which fills in the gap between 172 and 170 Pleasant View. It doesn't project past the existing rear wall, so it wouldn't really have any impact on the adjacent neighbor. In terms of the second story or the third story, as it may be, it's in keeping with the neighborhood. There's existing two-story dwellings on this house, on this property, which are almost at the same level as our house, our proposal. So I don't think really there's any detriment to the neighborhood.
All right. Questions to the applicant? We're into committee now. In committee, panel members, comments or motions? Ms. Casson, I see you looking like you want to say something. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that this application is minor in nature. I think that it's a clever design of filling in the gap between the two houses and then adding the second story on top. I think that the neighbor's concern is from the public notice that indicates a three-story dwelling, which by definition of the bylaw is three-story, but in fact it'll only read as a two-story house. So I think the neighbor's concern should be alleviated in that regard. But I really think this application is a good way of adding some new development into the area and taking advantage of the existing houses that are on the street. So I would recommend approval. I think it's within the intent of the official plan to allow a two-story dwelling here, and within the intent of the zoning bylaw as it's defined, to allow the three-story in terms of the definition. So that being said, there are no forestry conditions, and I don't think there are any other conditions, so I will move a motion for approval.
Okay, motion for approval. Seconder?
I second that.
Mr. Fazeli? Vote on the motion. All approval. All in favor, approved. Okay. Congratulations, your application is approved, and we're on to item 13, which is the other side. Oh, we did that one. Right, hang on. So what did we do? We did 170, we're at 172. So we approved the two of them together? No, we got to do this second. Okay. So 172, which is effectively it's.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the.
Well,
Yeah.
Hang
Good
on.
afternoon,
Just
Chair, members of the
before
committee.
before you come up, let me just explain. Okay. Pardon? We have to do this second one then separately, right? Which is 170. We did 170. We now do 172. We have the same. We have exactly the same issues, but let me read into the record the nature of this one. Okay, so this is 172 Pleasant View Drive, and this is to construct a two-story and second-story addition, existing dwelling in conjunction with other interior and exterior alterations, which is the same as the other one. And there are two letters of support. There is a forestry report that wasn't on the other one. There is a forestry report here. And other than that, the proposed number of stories, so there are three variances. Proposed number of stories is 3. The proposed lot coverage, and there is proposed front yard setback, rear yard setback. The other one had a front yard setback. All right, but otherwise, the applications are two side by side. So I don't know how much we need to hear from the applicant, but we've got the same parties, right? Same resident, the same applicant. Do you want to hear from the applicant on this? We'll read the applicant's name. which is Daniel Venturuzzo, 91 Skyway Avenue. We don't need a full-blown presentation, but you get up to 5 minutes, but we've pretty much heard from you. Use your discretion, but you have your moment to appear before us. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Again, the same application. The only difference is the the rear yard setback. And it's an existing setback to the existing dwelling, and it's caused by the second floor addition being in line with the ground floor.
So why don't we then move on to, are there questions? No. Move on to the resident. Madam Resident, Dorothy Dixon, 174 Pleasant View Drive. We have heard from you. You're welcome to speak on this one, but your comments were noted by the panel. It's up to you on how much time you want to spend on these, but we did hear your previous comments. Go ahead. Are you still there?
Yeah, okay.
It's up to you.
Yes, I am Dorothy
You get your 2
Dixon.
days in court because there are two applications here. So it's up to you if you want to talk. We will take your comments into account on this, but if you wish to make further comments, go ahead.
I don't wish to make any other further comments because the both buildings that the applicant intend to make the variances to are attached to each other, and 172 is right beside me, 174, and any obstruction of sunlight would cause from the height of the building, which I thought would be the application did say 3 stories, and I did not want a 3-story. It would be too high, and it would be different from all the other houses on our street. And I would not be getting any sunlight at all on my property, which is very crucial to my garden and myself. Right. And so that's the only thing I want. And if the variances on the lot is only to fill in the gap between the both houses, that's okay. Extension on the lot to the front or to the rear is unacceptable because it wouldn't be in line with my house.
All right.
And that is what I reject.
All right, thank you. Questions to resident?
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Resident. Applicant, you have a chance to rebut the resident, but we've been through this before. It's up to you, or we can just move forward. Back to the applicant.
I'm good with moving forward, Chair.
Perfect. Go into committee. Committee members, we have a motion or a comment? We have a motion. Ms. Casson, you brought the motion the last time. Would you like to bring another motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to move a motion for this one. Again, I believe this application is very minor in nature. The one thing that I was going to mention about the height is that there is no height variance required, and that this application falls within the zoning bylaw for that purpose. It's just the grading on the site that causes it to be defined as 3 stories as opposed to 2 stories. So I am proposing a motion to approve subject to forestry condition number 3, because I believe this application is within the intent of the zoning bylaw and the official plan and is a good use of the land.
Okay, so subject to forestry condition.
I'll second it.
Mr. Allison, you seconded it? Okay. So Ms. Casson, seconded by Mr. Allison, and all those in favor, and it is unanimous. So thank you. Congratulations on your approval. On to item 14.
Thank you.
Item 14 is 57 Heathview Avenue. Proposal to construct a new 2-story dwelling with a porch, rear deck, and a basement walkout. There are 5 variances requested. We have a number of reports, including forestry report. We have 3 letters of support. We have a staff report. Staff report says the proposal to be developed in accordance with the north side elevation drawing submitted to the Committee of Adjustment as a attachment. And to be clear, the 5 variances are proposed front yard setback, proposed height of north side, proposed height of south side, proposed lot coverage, proposed rear deck projection from the rear wall. And we have an agent here in front of us. We have no other party here or on the phone or video. Before we go to the applicant, we'll go to the applicant in a second, the agent. Just from panel members, do we need a full presentation from the applicant? Looking for any kind of appetite for a full presentation and seeing heads shaking, or do we? No? Nobody really needs a full presentation from you, Mr. Agent of the applicant, but you are welcome to your 5 minutes or something less than that if you so choose. The committee members have sort of indicated they'd like less than that, but it's your right to do the full 5 minutes. Just please state your name, state your address, and tell us if you've made any amendments or changes to your application.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Happy New Year to Mr. Marziari, Mr. Fazali, and Ms. Muzayani, and Happy Spring to everyone else. My name is Hamid Behesht from Homeland. I am the co-designer of this house from 49 Wycliffe Crescent. I'm here for any presentation or any question you might have.
All right, so thank you. Questions by panel members? Any questions to the applicant? Ms. Gass?
I have one question. I couldn't tell where the front door was, which elevation it was.
Right, it is, yeah, since it's a corner lot, we decided to have the main elevation from the side street, which I think can be seen on sheet number 9. Right, that's site plan. And if Sam can show sheet number 9, please. Or the next one, right, this one. This is the side of the house, which faces the side street. Those stairs go up to the main entrance. The other entrance right beside the garage is considered to be the second entrance, which is going to be used by the homeowners themselves. The formal entrance is the one up after the stairs.
Further questions? No? No further questions? Into committee? Committee? Panel members, comments or motions? We have comments. I don't want to comment. I'm the chair. We have a motion?
Just one other question of clarification. So the planning
Okay, so
staff.
back out of committee.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Back to questions.
The planning staff report recommends that the property be developed substantially in accordance with the north side elevation. That is the front?
And that's the side. That's the side we
that's the
just
side.
talked about, yes.
I'm looking at the map and you said it's on the side street, which is Brucedale Crescent. That's why I'm
That's
confused.
right. That's right. We're totally okay with that condition, and we're not going to change anything. That will be the permit drawings as well.
Okay, so back into committee. We have a motion.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion for approval of this application. I think the application satisfies the 4 test. Therefore, I'd like to move this motion forward.
All right, motion, seconder?
Is there, there's a forestry with the condition of the forest.
Subject to the forestry condition and
but hold on, one
north
second.
side-
Mr. Chair, hold on. I don't think there's forestry.
forestry condition.
And there is a planning, should you choose to attach
Yes.
it.
Yes, and I would like to add this condition with the mention on the staff report,
Right.
which the developed in accordance with the north side elevation drawing submitted to the Committee of Adjustment attached in number 1 to the staff report, please.
Okay, so we got a motion. The motion is subject to the staff report. Ms. Casson is seconding it. Those in favor of the motion? It's unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And now we may break for lunch. We'll be back at 2 p.m. for our afternoon session. Thank you.
Several times. Several times. Yeah, no problem. No problem. Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Lorraine, you want to take over for me? I'm out of here. I have a reception, but I'm missing. Today starts, this is my favorite. Yeah, March Madness.
Oh, you're one of those. Are you addicted to the, did you have a favorite team?
I picked North Carolina.
Garbage, I'll take that. How's it going? How are ya?
Great, thank you so much. How are you?
Good.
What do you want to do, Jordan? Do you want to go to Roma? I already ate. This stuff is such a day.
Anything like out here.
Yeah, I'll meet you over there.
Yeah, move to the table. By the time you get there, I'll probably just go to the table. Huh? No, 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 I'm good. I'm good. No, no, are you sure? No, no, I'm going there to be go together. I'm getting there because I don't want to be. Yeah, that's fine. I'd rather go get and have.
Well, our Roma was last time was taking so long, right?
Expensive and
You have to make a motion to where to pizza we grab. Exactly. That's cool.
I vote for Loblaws. I'll make a motion for Loblaws. Yeah, Cafe Lambert's okay, but again, oh, really? I like that. That's fine, because I'm the tourist. Yes, instead of making a right to the food court, you go straight. I got a call from it this morning.
Where did it go? Yes. It's supposed to be.
It's very close.
Past the library. You want to turn right. No, go straight. On your way. You did. We ended it. We ended it.
And I'm home all day tomorrow, so you can get over. What? Who you want to visit me? No, I meant North York City. I work